Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Rhonda Farrell, the founder of CSTGIA, bringing you week 3 of Cyber Advantage 2026, Risk, Readiness, and Strategic Control. This session is for cyber leaders, executives, technologies, policymakers, and innovators that want to reduce their risk and move to a greater cyber advantage in 2026. This year, we are moving beyond resilience, again, into risk, readiness, and strategic control. If you've been with us for the past 2 weeks, you know we've made an intentional shift. In week 1, we reframed cybersecurity as a leadership and governance capability, not just a technical defense function. In week 2, we focused on risk visibility because you cannot control what leadership cannot clearly see. And today in week 3, we confront the next constraint because many organizations can now see cyber risk, but they still cannot move fast enough to control the outcomes. And that constraint has a name that we're discussing today, and that is decision latency. So decision latency does equal heightened risk. So let's do a deep dive into what decision latency is and what it is not. Decision latency is not about indecision. It is not about incompetence. And it's very, very, very rarely about lack of data. Decision latency is what happens when risk is visible, threats are understood, the exposure is acknowledged, but somehow, somewhere within our organization, action to remediate slows. Decisions stall, escalations loop, meetings multiply, and authority becomes unclear. In 2026, this is one of the most dangerous positions an organization can be in because risk no longer waits patiently for governance to catch up. The 2026 reality is that cyber risk now moves much faster than approval cycles. It emerges through AI systems, vendors, and workflows. It materializes before incidents even occur. And it affects trust, operations, and authority, not just systems. And yet, many organizations still operate as if every decision requires perfect information, every risk be escalated and examined in minute detail, and every trade-off be debated in real time. What happens is that mismatch between operational speed and our decision-making infrastructure creates hesitation. And hesitation ultimately transfers control of those risks from leadership to the unfolding of the event itself. So ultimately, decision latency is a governance issue. It is not a tooling problem. Decision latency is often treated like a cultural issue. We need leaders to be bolder. We need teams to move faster. And while in part that diagnosis may be true, it oftentimes misses the entire point, i.e., ultimately at its root, it's a governance problem. And we see decision latency emerging when organizations have not clearly answered who decides when risk intersects with operations or revenue. What level of uncertainty is acceptable before we take action? Which risk trade-offs can be pre-approved and therefore standardized in our workflows, and which really at their heart require true escalation? And lastly, where does authority live when microseconds count? When these questions are unresolved, organizations default to delay, and ultimately that delay becomes structural or systemic. So we need to move from visibility to decision readiness. This is where cyber advantage is either gained or lost, because visibility alone does not create control. Decision readiness does. Decision-ready organizations do several things differently. They define decision thresholds before the pressure points arise. They clarify decision rights, not just reporting lines. They rehearse trade-offs and scenarios, not just incidents. And they accept that incomplete information is our new normal and design for it. They do not wait for certainty. They prepare for governance judgment under great amounts of uncertainty. And that is the leadership discipline that cyber now requires. So let's look at speed versus urgency. Well, speed, number one, is unequal to urgency. And this distinction really matters because speed is not recklessness. Speed is not panic. Speed is not bypassing controls. Speed is prepared decisiveness. And organizations with cyber advantage move faster because their authority lines are clear, their escalation paths are trusted, their risk trade-offs are understood, and leaders know which decisions they ultimately own. They are not reacting, they are executing. So from a leadership lens, I'd like to ask 3 questions of your organization for you and your teams to ponder. Not technical questions, but leadership questions. First, where are cyber-related decisions slowing down in your organization? And more importantly, why? Which decisions are waiting for perfect information that will likely never arrive? And third, what risk trade-offs are repeatedly debated instead of deliberately pre-decided? If you can't answer these quickly, decision latency is likely already shaping a lot of your outcomes. So why this matters so much now? Because in 2026, delay shifts authority. Hesitation erodes trust in real time. And slow decisions invite external control and heighten risk. Organizations don't lose control all at once. They lose it incrementally through systemic hesitation and delay. So cyber advantage is not about eliminating uncertainty because it's infeasible. It's about deciding before uncertainty decides for you. So as we look ahead, in week 4, we move beyond decision speed into decision endurance. Because advantage is not built on one decisive moment. It's built on sustained clarity, leadership resilience, and organizational capacity under prolonged pressure. This is where cyber advantage becomes durable. So if this episode resonated with you, I encourage you to share it with your leadership team. Use the reflection questions in your next organizational discussion. And lastly, start redesigning decision authority before the next moment of pressure occurs. This is Cyber Advantage 2026, and I am Dr. Rhonda Farrell, the founder of CSTGIA. Thank you for joining me today as we continue along our year of Cyber Advantage 2026, Risk, Readiness, and Strategic Control.